can only use 6250.
Yeah.
You got 6250, but this was less, this was less. I think this is.
So the minute we, you know, because I'll start.
We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order for February 25th, 2019. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and accept a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Actually, we're going to be adding an item to that. We're going to be adding 7 Juliet, which is the land purchase agreement with Murph Park. Okay, so can I get a motion to go ahead and approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. So we have a presentation to do tonight. And if I could go ahead and get Mr. Pete Burns on up to the dais, please. And I think if our fire chief would like to accompany him, please. We'd like to go ahead and recognize Mr. Pete Burns as our Sueur Fire Department Firefighter of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to let everybody know, Firefighter of the Year, this is what, our 30th Firefighter of the Year? 33rd Firefighter of the Year since we started that. Pete Burns is now second time Firefighter of the Year. Each year, each one of the firefighters that are eligible have to meet 5 criteria, and those criteria are scaled. And then after we add that up, that person becomes Firefighter of the Year. Pete Burns has done an exceptional job again this year, as many of our firefighters have, between his attendance, going to schools, extra jobs that he takes care of. He scored the most out of a candidacy of 7, and he was our Firefighter of the Year. So I can't thank Pete enough for his work that he does for the fire department, and he deserves this. It's a well-deserved award for him.
Well, on behalf of the entire city council, Pete, we're very proud of you and continue the great work. And I'm going to ask you a favor. I broke my leg, so if you come up here, I'd like to shake your hand. I'm sure the rest of my council members would like to do the same.
Sounds good. I'll start this way and work my way over.
Congratulations, Peter.
Thanks so much. Now, Mayor, if I may be so bold, I just have a couple more minutes of your time.
Sure.
Fire hydrants in town have been a big issue for February. We haven't had this much snow since I've been in the fire department for 28 years. And most of those fire hydrants are plugged. They're full of snow. We have sent out a lot of Facebook, Twitter, the whole works, trying to get our neighbors and friends to get those fire hydrants cleaned up or cleared out for us. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, the crews, it's up to the crews. We have 6 different crews that are going out, 10 different pieces of equipment. There's 270 some fire hydrants in town. We are going to hopefully work at hitting every one of them tomorrow and cleaning out. It would be greatly appreciated by the fire department if you're able and willing to go out, and if you can, all we're asking for is you clear it down past to where we hook up and get to them. That's what we need to do. Time is the essence if you have a fire on your block. We've had Facebook posts here yesterday or even today that said, you know, I cleaned it out once, the city come through, plugged it up again because they're clearing streets, and I'm not going out there to do it. My insurance is up to date. That's not right, pure and simple. That hydrant runs for 800 to 1,000 feet. That means your entire block. That block is responsible for that hydrant. If we can get people to go out and help us out, that 270 becomes, you know, a lot less tomorrow for us to take care of. And we're going to start with some of the major places that we need to do, the nursing homes, the hospitals, the schools, things like that, and then we'll work our way through town. So what I'm asking, if you're able and willing, and you can get out there and get them cleared for us by tomorrow, they'd be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, we have 10 pieces of equipment, our own equipment, and 24 guys that are doing this on our own to make sure that this community is safe. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Thank you for your time.
Not a problem, Fire Chief. Just a comment for you. I just found out that we do not have an ordinance on the books at this time. That's certainly something the city council will go ahead and take a look at as far as making sure we have something to make sure the people that are responsible take care of the fire hydrants. That's something we'll take a look at here in the near future. A word to everybody in the community. You heard our fire chief. Let's make sure that we can do whatever we can to help out the fire department. If you have a fire hydrant on your property, please do what you can to get that fire hydrant exposed so hookups can be made for the 800 to 1,000 feet that fire hydrant services. Thank you very much. Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the city council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. The items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. On tonight's consent agenda, we have our city council minutes for February 11th, 2019, a resolution approving disbursements through February 25th, 2019, the Minnesota Mutual Power Association distributed generation and cogeneration resolutions, and the purchasing policy update. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council line items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting. On the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing a name and address. Anybody sign up tonight? Is there anybody from the audience that would like to address City Council? Entertain a motion to go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. First item on our regular agenda tonight is 2019 donations program application review. City Administrator Cooper.
Mayor Hay, members of City Council. Before you is a program that we've implemented, a little history of it. $20,000 have been funded, and these funds come from the electric utility. This program has been officially active since 2014. There was a donation policy that was adopted at that time. Unofficially, This has been going on for an unspecified amount of time. Just kind of formalized it. It's something that not all communities do, and it is something that City Council evaluates every year. So this year, during the application process, the applications were due on February 20th. What I did is I reached out to previous last year's awardees and let them know, and we also posted it on Facebook and our website for anybody who wanted to apply that met the criteria. So we have 4 applicants: the Sueur Chamber of Commerce, the Sueur Historical Society, the Sueur Little League, and the Small Business Development Center in the South Central region. The total amount that we have here is $13,750, so it's underneath the $20,000 that we've allocated for. As a note, last year we did not allocate all of those funds for donations either, so it's not a big thing for us not to. We've had in years past application requests for above the $20,000. One thing I would consider is moving forward. What we will do is we're going to close down the application process unless otherwise directed by City Council, and essentially that period is over, and those funds just won't be expended this year. So, with that, talk about what the process is here. It's the City Council's prerogative to award these donation requests as they feel appropriate. So, what the proper procedure would be is to approve them individually via motion. And I believe that there are some people here that have, if there are questions about certain applications or if they want to present anything, that would be perfectly fine. So with that, I'll turn it over to City Council for any questions, and we'll go from there.
City Administrator Krugel, I'd like to go ahead and add line item 5 for $3,346.50 for the Bulldog Hockey Association to be considered. They approached us a couple of meetings back, and we went ahead and supplied in-kind labor and services for the Bulldog Hockey Association. I think that's certainly something that will fit the criteria for a charitable donation.
Sure, we can definitely add that one in there as item D. We would look at having that be approved via motion similar to any other applications. That would, I believe, have us fall under the $20,000 allocation as well. So, and what that means, if that is approved, what that means is that those dollars, that $3,346.50, will be transferred from the electric fund to the general fund 615, the community center fund, that those dollars for that event were expended from.
Everybody's had a chance to review the first 4. Does anybody have any questions or concerns on any of the donation requests?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we're going to take them up one at a time. I think when we get to one of them, we will have some questions. I will.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start then on Councilmember Krogman's thought on this. Let's start with the Sueur Chamber of Commerce for $10,000. Any questions, concerns, or thoughts?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I will move that we grant that amount.
Okay, is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Sir, go ahead.
Just that, I spent time in a number of different meetings that included the Chamber of Commerce, and especially over last year. There's a large change in the dynamic in the way that they are looking at promoting and doing things within the city, and it's a big change in the direction. So yeah, I'm in support.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor for the Sueur Chamber of Commerce, $10,000, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That particular item is approved. Let's move to line item 2, which is the Sueur County Historical Society. Any questions, concerns, or thoughts on this one?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Councilmember Krogman.
I'd like to hear from other council members on this too, but I would think that it would be better if we could have the Sueur County Historical Society donate those signs to the city, and we will assume maintenance and relocation. And with that in mind, I will move that.
Okay.
I would second that.
So to be clear, the $1,500 would be maintained within the city of Sueur to go ahead and maintain and relocate these signs. Is that correct?
Actually, it would probably be fully at our expense, we would assume.
Okay.
This would not be part of this allocation of money. It would be available within the budget, but it would not be limited to that.
Okay. So we have city administrator approval.
I was just gonna clarify, we're just requesting this from the Sueur County Historical Society. That would be an official request from city council to have them donate these signs, and we would cover all costs for preservation, and relocation.
That's correct.
So we have a motion then for the donation of signs by the Sueur County Historical Society. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That line item is approved. Third item on the docket is the Sueur Little League Youth Baseball for $750. Any comments, questions, or concerns? City Administrator Kruger.
If I may just ask a point of clarity for that last item. The motion and the second that were on the table were just to request that they donate them to us, so that the donation request, I don't believe, has been approved. Just to clarify, it's just that the city council, the Sueur City, or the city of Sueur is going to request from the Historical Society that they just donate them and we cover all the costs. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
So the donation request is off the table?
Yeah, it's off the table, exactly. That's the way I understand it.
Do we still need a vote on that though?
I believe we did. We voted on the request of it, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need a motion to deny, you can just not approve it. Okay.
The Sueur Little League for $750. Any comments, questions, concerns?
I would move this item.
Okay, is there a second to move $750 for the Sueur Little League?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the $750 for the Sueur Little League Youth Baseball, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Fourth item on the docket is a Small Business Development Center for the South Central Region of $1,500. Any questions, concerns, thoughts on this one? Certainly something that we've been doing for many years that I know of.
Yes, I believe it's been 3 years officially that we've done this through this forum. So, and it's a resource. I think we can do something with their marketing material, put it on our websites for businesses in our community to tap into that. We've done that in the past, but we could have like a community resource type link on our website. So I think it'd be a fine expenditure.
Is this something that should be working through the Life Web program?
It could be another resource. Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly get involved with our community development director, Ms. DiMaggio, that's for sure. So, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. The fifth item, which is not on the donation program request, is the one that I added, which is $3,346.50 for in-like services for Bulldog Hockey Association for when they have their tournament, which we just had this past weekend. This will be something that we can go ahead and do in the future, because certainly it takes manpower and resources from our city staff to go ahead and take care of this, and we have it within our budget to do it, so I think it's something we ought to go ahead and approve. So I personally will make the motion to approve it.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion?
We need to be clear, I think it is clear, but so everyone understands, that's for the money we already basically expended.
That's correct.
By doing this in content, so
That's correct.
this year.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the docket is 7 Bravo, which is the capital lease item approval request to continue the SCADA upgrade.
Mayor Hay, members of the city council.
You mind just quickly, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Bulldog Hockey Association. I was also here representing the Sueur Little League Association, so really greatly appreciate you guys supporting our youth athletics.
We're all very grateful that you take your time to go ahead and take care of our youth within the community, and just as a matter of question, how did the tournament go this weekend?
It was awesome. All 9 towns showed up, braving the weather, and we ran on time. We were able to get everybody out of here 45 minutes ahead of time, and 250 kids plus all the parents, so it was another successful
And
trip.
you sir need to be appreciated by all of us, so thank you for all the work that you do. Okay, city administrator approval.
Mayor Haig, members of City Council, this is another capital lease item approval request. What this is for continuation of the SCADA improvements that you have. There's another invoice totaling $3,955. The action requested is a motion approving the submission of the payment request form to Kinetic Leasing for the SCADA improvements.
That's $39.95 instead of $39.55, correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
On our
So,
paper, yeah.
yeah, it's $39.95.
Any questions or concerns for our city administrator on approving the execution of the payment request forms attached to this agenda item? Hearing none, can I go ahead and entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is carried. We now move on to line item 7, Charlie, which is the Sueur Municipal Airport Commission City Code discussion.
Mayor
City
Haig.
Administrator approval.
Oh, thank you. Mayor Haig, members of the City Council. Before you is something that we've alluded to, I think the last meeting, is a code update, a clarification in there for one item, and the other is just to look at and evaluate if who we want to have taking the responsibility of leases out at the airport. So I'll talk about this in 2 sections. The first section is the basically section 33.018B3. What is being proposed, and we would do this via ordinance, first reading, second reading, publish, and then it would be active 7 days after it's published. It would be striking that section as you see in your packet. Essentially, that would clear up the ambiguity between the previous section naming that there are 5 members and that section B3 that makes it seem that there's 5 members plus a city council member. So that would be the recommendation moving forward, is that there would be 5 total planning commission or airport commission members. 4 of those would be citizens within the city of Sueur, and the verbiage is voting eligible voters of the city of Sueur, and then the 5th person would be the city council appointee, and that appointee would be appointed to that position for the entirety of their term as a city council member. So that's the first section that I would recommend updating starting the update process at the next meeting. The second section talks about who is in charge of the leases at the airport. Right now, it currently says that the city code designates the airport commission to take full and complete charge of leasing the land. There's a large section in there describing what land they have authority over. One thing that has been discussed internally and with some members of council here is that if there's a member if there's a hangar owner that is on the airport commission, there may be a conflict of interest there. So to eliminate that conflict of interest and allow for hangar owners to be on the airport commission, the recommendation is to remove that section, basically chapter 33, section 19, D 1 through 5. Strike that, and then the city council would assume that they are under control of the leases at the airport. The airport commission would make recommendations to city council. They have no fiscal authority. Everything has to go through city council. The way that the code is written is that the leases, they set the rates, they set the terms, that would then be allocated to city council. I feel like that's a good course of action to take, just because I feel like it's important that, and you'll have this to evaluate at the next agenda item, to have some representation of the hangar owners on the airport commission, just to have their input, because right now there are 3 people appointed, and I don't believe Daryl owns a hangar.
It is not.
He does not, so there is no representation at the current time. So those would be the 2 recommendations that I would make as far as the code update. A little refresher, I'm looking for direction on how to proceed. And what we would do is, if the recommendation is directed to proceed in that manner, we would conduct the first reading of the ordinance on March 18th, the second reading on March 25th. We would publish that change in the paper on April 3rd, and that would go into effect on April 10th. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. We're still, I'm waiting to schedule the first airport commission meeting because I want to make sure that whoever's appointed at this next, or at the next agenda item, if somebody is appointed, that they're able to make it and we can have a full airport commission for that first meeting. Because the chair of the airport commission has a draft agenda and it's pretty extensive, so I want to make sure everybody's there, just to make it as meaningful as possible. So with that, I'll entertain any questions on the recommendation to update that section of the code.
Mr. Mayor, if
Councilmember
Mr.
Grover.
City Administrator and others present, just one clarification. The current leases will go for a number of years still out. So if we do appoint someone to the commission at this time who has an interest in the airport, and I would expand that, by the way, to indicate not only an owner but a family member, because I think there would be a conflict potentially there. But it won't affect us for a couple of years. So we could appoint someone now and still make this change and all would be in order, if that makes any sense. And I would say, as the chair of the commission, and I certainly want to know what other members say, but I would favor these two changes. One of them is just obvious. The first one, you can't have one place saying there's 4 citizens plus a council member. I don't know why I'm not considered a citizen, but I am. But anyway, that's how they phrased it when they wrote it. And then have another place where there'd be 5. Because if you look at the first subsection, it talks about 2 people have that given term, and then the others are 1 year. So we need to clear that up, and certainly this getting the lease out of there puts it back to the council making the decision. There's a small conflict within this. If you look at the earlier provision, it says that the council has all responsibility for real estate, etc. And then later it designates the commission to have exclusive authority over a lease, which doesn't make any sense. So I would favor this, but I want to hear what our council has to say.
To be clear, the first item you're talking about is 33.016 in regards to the makeup of the commission.
Correct.
Okay.
And it says 4 citizens there who are qualified voters, okay?
Right.
Shall consist of 1 council member and 4 citizens,
Right.
okay? That makes the council member not a citizen, perhaps. I'm kidding, of course.
So everybody understands that language that we're going to be changing then?
It's the one that's highlighted would be basically eliminated. That would give us 4 members other than the council person.
City Administrator Kruger?
If I may, I just want to give a little bit more information about the leases. They go through March 31st of 2020. So that's when April 1st of 2020 is when they would need to be renewed. So as Councilmember Krogman alluded, if this code change wasn't made, if you're considering on the next agenda item to appoint somebody, there wouldn't be a conflict until that time.
Any other questions or concerns?
So again, the conflict is only over the lease aspect of it. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Potentially, yes.
Well, in the business sense, there's not any business owner that would have leasing, whether it was a rental unit that is housing or business rental for offices, that would have a leasing or a rentee having the opinion onto what that cost would wind up being for them. It doesn't work that way. So I agree with striking these.
Okay. Any other thoughts or concerns?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, if we don't hear anything else, I would simply say we direct the city administrator to work with the city attorney on revising the ordinance.
Okay.
Would second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to go ahead and revise our airport commission ordinance. That's gonna be both for 33.016, 33.018, and also 33.019, those three sections within the ordinance. Any additional discussion on this?
To be clear, we're not revising it yet, we're simply asking for that
For the language?
administrator to begin.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be two additional opportunities to change it however the council feels during the first and second reading. So I'll take it as direction, and there's a motion and a second, but I'll take it as direction to bring it forward on the 18th.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the docket is Southern Delta, which is the Sueur Municipal Airport Commission appointment.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, this agenda item is to appoint one of the three applicants to the one vacancy on the Sueur Municipal Airport Commission with a term ending on December 31st, 2020. I apologize, I omitted the three applications on there. I have provided those to the group to look at. I sent an email out earlier today, but if you did not get the email, they are here present right now in application. So the three applicants are Deborah Wilbright, Michael Doherty, and Melissa Huntington. What we are looking for is to appoint via motion an applicant for the vacancy at the Sueur Municipal Airport Commission as council feels fit. So with that, I'll entertain any questions about the process, but really what we're looking for is just a motion for one of the applicants, second, discussion, and then a vote.
Mr. City Administrator, could you state the term, please?
The term is through December 31st, 2020.
Any questions or concerns?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do, Councilmember
I would
Crowe.
nominate, or ask that we appoint, I'll start again. I move that we appoint Deborah Wilbright.
Okay, we have a motion for Deborah Wilbright. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Welcome aboard, Deborah Wilbright, to our airport commission. Okay. Next item on the docket is 7 Echo, which is our planning commission policies and procedures.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, at the last Planning Commission meeting, the group passed their policies and procedures. What we're looking for tonight, and they've been included in your packet, is for City Council to basically say, yes, we agree with these policies and procedures, and then adopt them, and then that's what they'll follow moving forward. So I would rely on city staff Samantha DiMaggio, who is the staff liaison for the Planning Commission, along with our City Council liaison, Councilmember Krogman, for any questions.
Community Development Director DiMaggio, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Hague, members of the council. As Jasper said, when I started here and was assigned the Planning Commission, I was able to go to some training last year and realized that many cities have policies and procedures outlined for their Planning Commission. We did not have one, so I started to put something together, and the Planning Commission was awesome. They diligently went through it a few times, made sure that it looked like a document that they were happy with, and now they have agreed to it, and I'm bringing it to you for adoption. I think that this actually turned out to be such a good exercise. I would like to see the EDA go through something similar as well, and I don't know if Newell has any comments that he wants to make about it, but I definitely think that it was a good for us and for the new members who come on the Planning Commission. I now have a document that I can share with them that explain how things work, and I think it's just going to make things much cleaner in the future.
Councilmember Krogman, do you have something to say?
I concur. The council, commission worked very hard on this. It's fair to say they took their time appropriately. They really looked at it. They talked a lot about what's in there and what frankly is not in there right now. And it's a very smooth document that they bring in, and I heartily recommend that it be approved.
Okay. Is there any reason that we would have to go ahead and bring this through our legal expert to make sure that all the language is correct before we go ahead and take further action?
So when I got done with it originally, I had given it to Todd for review, and so he blessed off on it. But they did remove some language that they were a little bit iffy on that some other cities have, and I'm definitely okay with that. I want to make sure that whatever we have in there that we are comfortable with. So everything should be legit and up to code.
Well, I figured that was the case, but for the benefit of everybody in the public, I want to make sure that it had the opportunity to go through the legal process as well. So, what we're looking for then is for City Council to go ahead and adopt the Planning Commission policies and procedures. Can I get a motion on this, please?
I would be delighted to so move.
Thank you very much. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much to our Planning Commission members for all the hard work and diligence they did putting together this document. And thank you too, Ms. DiMaggio, for your leadership on this. Next item on the docket is 7 Foxtrot, which is the emergency manager appointment. City Administrator approval.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, as many of you are aware, Randy Snow was our previous emergency manager. He retired last summer. And since then, we've been relying on the county to provide those services if needed. We haven't needed those services, so that's great. We didn't have an emergency situation.
Go ahead.
Oh. But, so what we've done internally is we've looked for a candidate that we think would be a good fit, and Justin Nielsen has kind of risen to the top for that. He's got experience in the fire department. I've worked with the fire chief on this because there was a concern that during an emergency situation, if there's an immediate need, he's on the fire department, he's needed in that capacity. But the emergency manager really doesn't step in until after the immediate needs are done, and then you start organizing the disaster relief. So I'm not going to read all of these, but this is the definition. These are the definitions of what an emergency manager is in the municipal sense, and this is from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Authority, or Administration, sorry. And essentially what they do is they organize the recovery efforts. So as soon as an emergency happens, that's when essentially the recovery starts. And this person manages all of it. It's very important to have this person because there's funds that we can tap into as far as FEMA reimbursements and making sure that we're following those procedures. So there may be some additional trainings that are required. Some of those Mr. Nielsen has already completed, but to make sure that he's updated on all of those in case there is an emergency event, he knows, and he'll work closely with Ann Traxler from the county as well. So what this looks like is basically we're recommending appointing Justin Nielsen as the City of Sueur emergency manager. What that means is that he would receive a $400 a month stipend for that appointment. He would be responsible for everything associated with any additional trainings. One thing to note, Mr. Nielsen is what's considered an exempt employee, so he's not an hourly employee. So anything he's tasked with, that's what his job is. So if there's additional trainings and things like that, that'll be on top of what his normal job duties are, and we won't be paying for an hourly rate for that. And then also any expenses related to any of those trainings that are required would be covered by the city, and also travel for those things. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have about this process and the appointment.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Jasper, maybe you can touch on this a little more, but I'm going to use an example. When the tornadoes went through Lee Center, obviously emergency management becomes a big part, long-term role. What are we going to do to, obviously I don't feel $400 a month at that point, and being that he's a salary employee, how are we going to reimburse his time? Because, I mean, potentially you're talking many hours that he's giving up.
That is correct. There wouldn't be any additional compensation other than this $400 a month. More than likely, that we never know when there's going to be an emergency event. Yeah, fingers crossed. But he is under the impression, we have had a conversation about this, that he might have to put in extra hours because of this, and he's fine with that. he's got a very good attitude about this, and he has since day one on all of his job capacities that he has. So if that happens, and he needs to allocate way more time for disaster recovery, we might have a conversation at this level to say, okay, we need to get somebody in here to do building inspections, building official duties. So, you know, we wouldn't ask him to work 80 hours a week to do both things. We would be reasonable in that sense.
Okay. And I guess my other question then as well would be, are we gonna continue the relationship with the county level for the aspect that in an emergency, if he is needed with the fire department, that we still have that resource? 'Cause I think that's how it works with other communities.
Yes, yeah. So you might call that mutual aid. We would reach out to the county. We would hope that it wouldn't be, if there's a major disaster, a countywide disaster. It'd be, you know, isolated to Sueur, and then the county could then give us resources. If that's the case, they will be here anyway. They'll be here to assist with some of the FEMA paperwork and things like that. So definitely, I know Justin has already started attending some of these county emergency management meetings as well in preparation for this.
Thank you.
Is Randy Snow been talked to about kind of being a bridge or a resource for him as he transitions into this?
Yeah, so we reached out and made sure we knew where all of his boxes of emergency management stuff were. So Justin has those. You know, Justin and Randy, you know, they live in the same town. They were just talking to each other last week. So I would assume that if Justin has questions about what Randy did, he'll reach out to Randy. But as of right now, we're kind of in the preliminary stages of the official transition. But Justin has all of the documentation. We did have an emergency response plan that was adopted by City Council in 2017. So he has that. He'll likely be updating it and doing some other things with that as well. So, but we'll make sure that they're communicating if there are questions, because Randy was the emergency manager for quite some time.
And Councilmember Kirby, just to piggyback on that, I know even when Randy was in emergency management here, Antrax at the county level has always been a huge resource for him, and in conversation has said that she'd be more than happy to work with Justin as well.
The question that I have for you, City Administrator Kruger, would be, how many hours per week are we looking at this taking? Because as we all know, Mr. Nielsen's very involved with a rather aggressive rental property initiative that we're going to try to get done by the end of this year. So I know that that's a concern of mine to know what kind of commitment is this going to be, because the rental policy is extremely important. We got to make sure that we get that done. So
Yes, as it is me as well, and we've had that conversation, and that was one of the things that we discussed internally before making this recommendation. As far as hours go, just the initial catch-up, we think that the first couple months will be about 10 hours per month, and then moving forward, probably 2 to 5 hours per month. So not too much, but, you know, enough to add some additional work, an hour or so additionally a week towards this, especially in the beginning when he's getting things organized. So it is a concern priority-wise. We always have kind of a priority list. His number one priority is the rental inspections.
okay.
Will we be relocating the emergency headquarters?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we'll rely on Justin kind of getting his head wrapped around where it is right now, what other options are. Right now, if anybody doesn't know, it's located at the wastewater treatment facility. Internally, we've talked about it. There might be concerns if there's some sort of train derailment or something like that, or some catastrophic flooding. We do have a secondary location also defined, and that's this city council chambers. We might look at, you know, if the wastewater treatment plant isn't the best option, maybe moving it somewhere else. So as a backup, City Hall is also set up for an emergency operation center.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
We've not had a motion yet, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
It seems to me that we should both have a motion to approve the appointment, but then also include the line above that, where it indicates what the compensation will be and that expenses for events, training events and travel will be included. Would that be appropriate, Mr. City Administrator?
That is correct. You could have one motion that just wraps
Correct.
those three
Okay.
things into
Just to
one.
be clear.
Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns? I'll entertain a motion then to appoint Justin Nielsen as our City of Sueur Emergency Manager with a $400 a month stipend, and expenses will be covered for any training, events, and travel.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Now, if we can go back to line item 7, Charlie, the Sueur Municipal Airport Commission City Code discussion, Councilmember Krogman.
No. Yeah, it's the public utilities, correct? Isn't that what we're talking about? You added at 7C, you said we were gonna do the agreement, the purchase agreement for Murph Park.
No,
Seven.
that was
No, that's gonna be
7J.
7 Juliet.
7 Juliet.
7 Juliet.
My apologies.
Okay,
That's okay.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we got everything.
No, it's my fault. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Let's move on to line item 7, golf, which is the residential electric conversion policy. So you guys start here.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is a policy that the Public Services Director, Mr. Kuchera, and the Electric Manager, Justin Anderson, have developed. And what this does, and I'll turn it over to Rachel to give a little synopsis. What it does is it's a program that helps expedite or speed up the process of people converting from the overhead lead line that goes from the transformer to the house to an underground service. So with that, I'll give it over to Rich.
Public Services Director Kuchera, how are you this evening?
Good. Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
Council. Yeah, first let's start off a few pictures here, just to give you a little background. This is, those are existing overhead service lines. This is what electric staff has to deal with, especially in the winter times and with blizzards like we had yesterday in the last few days. That causes issues and power outages for property owners and businesses alike. These are 2 pictures of an updated service. The one on the right is the pedestal mount transformer, and then the one on the left you'll see is the meter on the wall panel. Purpose of this policy is to help alleviate the workload on the electric staff to make more reliable power, obviously, and yeah, the trimming trees to get them out of the private people's yards, because that's of course where they have to trim the trees to do the work. The policy would allow for up to $800 in assistance per customer. Justin did go out and get 2 bids, and the average of the bids was about $1,300 per customer, so this would pay about 2/3 of the expenses for the customer in assisting to convert. So, and that's what we are here asking for council to go forward with that.
Mr. Kuchera, approximately how many customers are we looking at that would need to have this service completed?
500 to 1,000.
500 to 1,000. Are there any businesses or industry that are associated with
This
that?
is only for residential at this time.
Councilmember families.
Back in 2016, when we had the number of city council members had gone and visited the different facilities around, when we got to the electrical, we asked them what types of things they needed for what they do. And one of the first things that was said was that they were, had a lot of underground lines that needed to be replaced. And we had asked, what's the holdup? And time was one of those things. Money didn't seem to be the issue, the time was. And I know that they've done some work. How much of what was bad before has been replaced? And with doing this now with this program, how long is this good for? Because they've already had to go back and replace a bunch of stuff that was bad before. But
I'm not real positive of what service, if you're talking the primary or the service lines, that was the issue before. Go ahead.
I can talk because I was there in 2016 when we had this conversation. So the underground that they were talking about were the main lines, not the service lines between the transformer and the house. And that work that would be proposed to be done with this wouldn't be done by our staff, it would be done by a contractor. We don't handle any private connections like that. That would all be contracted out. It would be up to the resident to find their own contractor to do it, and we would just say, we would verify, oh, this is 100 feet, we gave $8 a foot, here's $800 for this program. That would be our only touch point. It'd be administratively doing that and going out and verifying it. So we would be actually doing the underground conversion. The area that you're talking about is our existing underground. There's some fault issues that we have there that they've been replacing internally. And the idea is that before we really start hitting our overhead line conversion to underground, we want to make sure our existing underground is up to the criteria that we want it to be. Does that make sense?
Have we had a chance to inspect our underground to date, and we have an idea what our confidence level is of what our underground services consist of at this point?
We know the problem areas, and they have been picking away at it. One of the things that we've recently purchased is the boring machine to help us do that more efficiently.
All right, so explain this to me, because there's gonna be other people, I think, that are gonna have the same question. So I have a piece of property on Second Street. Okay, the lines are a pain. They get tangled up in all kinds of stuff in that neighborhood. So the idea is that it's gonna run down underground, but the poles are gonna stay there, and then eventually you're gonna take the poles out, and the rest of that in the alley is gonna get buried.
That is correct.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember
Rich,
Crowley.
I asked this question earlier of Jasper, but I was told that there's about 1,000. You said 500 to 1,000 of these. Do we expect that they're really going to be 100 feet each, or some of them, for example, what Mr. Fabulous was just talking about, might be only 50 feet? I don't know.
Correct. They could be 20 feet, they could be, we put in a dollar amount, $8 per foot with a maximum limit of 100 feet. So that way, if there is a residential property that is 500 feet off the roadway, they're not getting a benefit above and beyond the $800.
But again, if this, let's just make a, you have to always make assumptions because we don't have measurements on this, I don't think. If we had 500 feet, excuse me, $500 per customer on an average. I'm just making this up. We only serve 100 people. So we're starting a process, really.
Yes.
This is gonna have to go on for a number of years if we're gonna
Correct.
completely revamp the system.
Correct.
Okay.
And if I may,
City Administrator Krugel.
the big impact for city staff is that we no longer have to trim those trees that go from, let's say, the property line to the house. We take care of those. Usually right now, this time of year, we're out there, and that's what we are primarily doing, is trimming trees and making sure that, you know, the next year's growth doesn't, you know, affect the service lines. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that the service quality will increase for that house. You won't have natural events like snowstorms, ice storms, things like that take out your power because it's going to be buried. So there's some benefit to both the customer and the city with this program. So it's something that I'd recommend moving forward on, and we'll see how it goes. There's a cap on it, so it's not like everybody could do it all at once, and then we're, you know, spending money we didn't allocate. This is something that we can have in our budget, and we'll see how it goes. And if we have a large response to it next year during the budget process, we could come back and say, well, I think we need to update this to have a cap of twice as much as the previous year. So.
Well, that kind of goes to the question I was going to ask. Right now, we're estimating that we're looking at approximately $1,300 per customer on average, of which $800 of that would be taken care of by the city of Sueur. The customer would be responsible for the other $500. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that said, if we looked at a possibility that we're going to have some financial impacts on some individuals, and is there some kind of a program that we're looking at that might be able to go ahead and maybe do better for some of our senior population and perhaps some of our low-income families?
Yeah, I can answer that. Right now, we don't. We have some ways of being able to creatively finance this through special assessments.
Okay.
If we want to, similar to if a street project goes in front of your house, we can levy an assessment on that individual property. If they consent to that assessment and they agree to it, that'd be the only way that we would do it. We would still have to follow a process for assessing those properties. So we have some flexibility right now. This program, the $8 a foot, is designed to serve everybody equally, not necessarily if somebody has any financial hardship. If let's say somebody does have a financial hardship, they probably won't enroll in this because it may be too much to cover the remaining cost of it. But if we want to talk about that, administratively, it's quite a bit of work to go through the assessment process. So we don't want to offer that to everybody for everything. We want to be selective of the things that we would use it for. So, but there are some options that we could look at that aren't included with this.
I guess I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be putting a financial hardship on anybody, and we have the opportunity to go ahead and do an assessment where it can be passed on to their taxes. So,
And this is 100% voluntary. So,
okay, Councilmember Sullivan.
Two questions, Jasper, back to you, what you were saying about the weather-related outages. Potentially those customers are still gonna have outages because they're still aerial outside of their property, correct?
yes, correct. This would only address if there's issues going from the wire from the transformer to their house. If there's mainline issues, they would still have outages, yes.
Perfect. And then my second question is, at some point, are we gonna require this to be done? If we're looking to go underground at some point?
We could. Right now, if we would go through an underground conversion, we would likely say if we're going to convert one of our main lines that run by your house to underground, we would require it at that time. We're not quite there yet as far as what we're doing, but yeah, that could be a potential because you wouldn't be able to have a guide wire like that to your house if we went underground.
But potentially, this could be an incentive to customers, because 10 years from now, when we decide to bury lines, this may not be an option, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Now, when they do this, is it boring and feeding the cable, or is it boring and putting PVC and then sliding the cable through that?
I'm not sure what the code is. It's the second one. Okay.
That's what I thought. All right.
Yeah. So that would be what the contractor does. That's outside of the city.
And currently, if you have a tree on your property and the line is, and I know for instance, one of our neighbors, the rather substantial tree, and the line was going through the tree and attached to the house. And the question on this is, right now, does the city do maintenance on that tree, or do they have to pay somebody to work around the power lines? How does that work now?
I can answer that. I got more experience with what they do. So if we can access it, we will do it. If we can't access it, then we'll say it's the property owner's concern. They have to fix it if they want. They don't have to. If they lose power because of that tree that's on them. But as a courtesy, if we have an easement to where that is and we can access it, we'll trim it for you. If it's difficult and we can't get back there with our equipment, then it's on the property owner.
Any other questions or concerns?
I have one, I don't want to go off too far on a
City Administrator
tangent, however, are we requiring, do we have in a code or in some way an enforceable provision that says that new construction has to have buried lines? Or can someone put a new house in and have this kind of thing happen? And if we don't, why don't we?
I believe in somewhere that it is written that all new developments will be underground.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion then for the city council to approve residential electric service conversion policy.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Next item on the docket is 7 Hotel, which is the water and electric metering equipment bid award.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, I apologize for getting the packet out on Friday, but on Wednesday we had a weather event and we pushed this bid opening back to Thursday and had to get the engineer to compile all the abstract and information that you have in there. So that was kind of the driver of the 1 day delay on this. So, but we did open up one bid. I'll let Rich talk about this and talk about where it is as far as, the engineer, or wasn't really an engineer's estimate, what the city staff estimate was for this, and, go from there.
Public Services Director Kachar.
Yes, last Wednesday, the bids were due, and we were planning to have a bid opening at 10 a.m. Due to the predicted weather on Tuesday, we backed that up until Thursday at 10 a.m. So it is, this project is why everything is sold in. 10 a.m., we had one bid to open. The bid came in from Core and Main. It will replace approximately 2,011 water meters, approximately 2,212 electric meters. It will allow customers to have a portal to monitor usages in real time and to have custom set points for usage, for flows, for energy demand, for bills, for all that good stuff. It gives the city an advanced metering infrastructure system, which means the city will no longer have to send someone out to go get readings. All the readings will come to the city staff. The project also includes hosting services, so that way the city does not have to expand its IT servers. We don't have an IT department, so yeah, just IT items. So this is hosted also. Yeah, the benefits you'll see there: increased customer service capabilities. Nice thing, city staff will be able to interface with a customer if they are having issues. We can look into what they are looking at, and we can help walk them through to get them trained in on the system. Real time, I put that in parentheses, obviously is not always, it's not exactly real, but it's up to date and usually up to the last hour. One of the big benefits for the water system, obviously, is going to be unaccounted for water, so they can see daily water being pumped and water being consumed. Same thing for the electricity. They can see what electricity we're buying off the grid versus what is being used in the system. Like I said previously, bids were opened on Thursday. The one bid was 1.530, 461.56. Here asking council to approve the resolution accepting bids and awarding the contract to Core and Main.
City Administrator approval.
If I may, if I could just ask a question, do you remember what the estimated cost was for this whole package, previous to the bids? And so you might ask, why did we only get one bid? I think we talked about it a little bit. There's only one regional dealer for this type of meter. We've worked through legal to determine if we need to go out for bids for something like this, because we have a meter spec and we know exactly what we want. We put that spec into the bid package. But because of the amount of this, and to be safe, to follow state statute, it's obviously above $175,000. We went through the bid process knowing that, you know, we were only going to get one bid. We hope that that bid came in close. And Core and Main knew that they were going to be the only bidder, so we tried to massage that relationship so that they didn't gouge us, because they potentially could have, because they know they're the only regional source for this meter. So, but yeah, do you remember what the original amount was?
The original estimate was 1.678871. So we did save a couple hundred, well, not a couple hundred, 150, 140, 50.
So that number is significant because we used that 1.6 during the budget process. So this does fall within the budget that was approved by City Council.
Just a point of order regarding the future. This particular line item held up our packets from getting to us till Friday. I would request on behalf of all of us that should we have something like this happen again, where we have one particular item that holds up the rest of the packet, let's get the packet out and then we can add this as an add-on. I heard that from an awful lot of our city council members this time. Fair enough?
I'd rather see a placeholder for it, knowing that that's going to be on there, and if it doesn't show up, pull it off the agenda.
Exactly. So any questions or concerns for Mr. Kuchera, our city administrator? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the city council to approve Core and Main LP for the water and electric meter replacement project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead. Mr. Mayor, I'd suggest we include the dollar amount.
Yes, let's do that. For the dollar amount is $1,530,465.95 to Corn, Maine.
60, we just doubled it. Oh, yep. 461.
Oh, I'm sorry, $1,530,461.56.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
The
so
bid
let's
sheet.
look at Bolton, the Bolton and Mink sheet. Because we have two different numbers here. We have the 461.56 and then we have the 465.95. So we're gonna go with the 461.56.
Correct.
$1,530,461.56.
To be clear, that's, the bid tabulation is the higher amount, this page.
Correct. The bid tab had an addition error in it from the vendor.
Okay,
So in review, we found that
thank you.
they had an error, so that this is the correct amount.
Okay. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I think we had one.
Yeah, we have a motion, we have a second, any additional discussion?
Just to be clear, the dollar amount was included in their motion.
Yes. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Now move on to line item 7, India, the water and electric metering equipment financing.
So, Mayor Hank, members of the City Council, this is the second part of this item, and debating on what comes first, what comes second. Decided to approve the bid first and then the financing aspect of it, since we have talked about it as well. And I'll turn it over to Rich as far as the details go with this package.
Public Services Director Kuchera.
Thank you, Mayor. You will see the items are obviously the same items we were talking about later. Now we're talking about financing of the project. Government Capital Corporation is a company out of Texas that has, that does work with Corn, Maine. We did reach out to them. They offered us a lease program, $1 residual lease. Like it states there, purchase, $1 purchase at the end. 15-year and 15 annual payments at 3.995%. I believe Jasper did send this around to our local banks and offer them the chance to compete.
That is correct. And what I got back was this is below what they can offer as far as their prime. So this group must be subsidizing it in some manner to be able to provide this kind of interest rate at this time.
Thank you. And so the annual payments would be the $137,603.28, and that is within our budgeted amount in the CIP CEP.
And
Which
just-
was what?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, and just so everybody is clear, this is split between electric, water, and wastewater, so those three entities.
What was budgeted for?
176,000 total between the three entities.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, and
Mr.
Mr. City
Member.
Administrator, I raised the question earlier in correspondence. This motion troubled me because it didn't have any dollar amounts. These dollar amounts should be included, it would seem to me. I think you said that was true also.
That is true. So the idea is that we wanted to get it approved by City Council, and then you can amend the resolution or have the motion amended to be only for that amount. That would be perfectly fine. But yeah, I agree, and that was my correspondence. The motion to approve this should include the dollar amount as well.
Any other questions?
It's not a question, it's just that when we're gonna make a decision like this, it's nice to see what we had in budget for it, as opposed to what it is that we're.
$175K.
Right.
And sorry for interrupting. I think the ordinance made that. This was one of the items that was kind of held up with the other item. And now that we've learned this tonight, we'll obviously put a placeholder in so we can complete it.
Appreciate it, thanks.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, can I ask the City Administrator, Mr. Kuchera, if we added section 5 saying that the amount involved in this resolution is $1,530,461.56, would that be appropriate?
That'd be perfectly fine, yes.
Just to be clear how we do it.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2019-XXX for the lease agreement with the Government Capital Corporation with the Section 5 added for $137,603.28 annually for the next 15 years.
If I may, I think the total that we're looking for section 5 is the $1,530,461.56. That would be more appropriate than the annual payment, I feel, or more clear.
I rescind, I'll go ahead and change that now to the $1,530,461.56. That was a mouthful.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a second, any additional discussion?
One more question, do we have to include the years that lease is for the resolution?
From 2019 till when, a term?
Well, I mean, do we just have to put a time
For the
frame?
15 years? City Administrator Vogel?
Yeah, I would do that, yeah. I would add that to section 5.
Okay.
That would be fine, yeah.
So we'll go ahead and take the opportunity then to direct staff to go ahead and make section 5 with the appropriate language as we've discussed.
That's fine. As the mover of the motion, 15 years is fine.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second, any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the docket is the new item that we talked about earlier, Southern Juliet, the land purchase agreement with Murph-Buck, which is the Minnesota River Valley Public Utility Commission.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, this item has been added to the agenda to discuss the purchase agreement that we had legal counsel prior to Mr. Skubitz draft up. A little bit of history here is on June 11th, 2019, there was a motion that was unanimously approved for the city of Sueur to purchase the 3 parcels from Genesis at that time, Egg Partners now, with the intent that that would be transferred to Murph-Buck somehow, some way. The current land that's needed there is accessible to Murph-Buck via a license agreement. The original intent was that it would also be part of a license agreement. Then we had a meeting on January 21st, 2019 at the Murph-Buck board. They approved it. The point of contention was the deeding process of it. So the board at that time, there was a motion, and this is the words that were on the recorded motion that was made, to purchase the land directly adjacent to the south of the wastewater treatment plant or treatment facility from the city of Sueur and deed it to Murph-Buck for the purchase price of $199,667.62 plus applicable fees. So what you have in front of you, and it's been handed out to everybody, is the purchase agreement that was drafted up by the previous legal counsel. The Murph-Buck board has approved this to be executed, and the chair is ready to sign it. It's brought forward today for consideration of the Sueur City Council to sign it. If it is approved tonight, the process entails basically giving it to our legal counsel. They'll do a quick claim deed, and they will transfer it from the city of Sueur to Murph-Buck, Minnesota River Valley Public Utilities Commission. I'm not sure what that timeline would be to complete that. I would think it would be a fairly easy transaction since they're both kind of an internal, partly owned by the city of Sueur Henderson entity. So that's what we're looking for. This was the original intent of the purchase. The intent wasn't for the city of Sueur to purchase it. If Murph-Buck, and I don't know if the Murph-Buck chair feels comfortable talking, they had a conversation with Murph-Buck's legal counsel about this situation. That conversation is what spurred us to bring it forward today, because I had some concerns about it not being able to be approved at the Murph-Buck level. So legal counsel from the Murph-Buck side feels confident that it's approved, so it's here tonight for consideration.
Before I pass it over to our Murph-Buck chair, Mr. Favelis, I got a question for you in regards to the money That's on the commercial purchase agreement. On here, we're saying 199,667.62, but the purchase agreement is 197,733.25.
Yep, so
$2,000 difference.
there is, so what I'm guessing that is that was the fees associated with the original purchase agreement. That number should be 199,667.62, so we'll have that updated.
So on page 1 of your purchase, commercial purchase agreement, make sure that you see that it reads 199,667.62 in those 2 spots. Okay, now, chair families.
Okay, so before I sign this, can I get a typed up copy that's gonna have that in there, or I need somebody to cross it out for your initials?
We'll get you a copy, we can probably update that tomorrow.
Okay.
I hope I didn't steal your thunder with the math there.
No, my right-hand guy over here already caught it. Nudged me over with it, so.
You want to give us a little brief on regards to what's going on with this
Yeah, okay, so there's a little bit of a foobar with this. The intention was that, the commission all agreed that the purchase of the property next door or adjacent to Merpuck, next to the facility, was a smart move. Okay, further growth and so on, with the ability in the future, if we wanted to be able to switch over to to B class and be able to put a tank in there, instead of running A class, which, you know, I found out today that we had 20,000 in climbing because our dryer was not drying right. I guess the heater part went down. As these things are going on, we're still going to need to be able to expand. Even the storage for our A class, okay, and when we talk about A class, we're talking about what is left after it's gone through the dryer. You have all of these pellets. Well, there's a right way to store it and a wrong way to store it. And really the way we're storing it isn't the optimal. It's not even sitting on a concrete ground, which really should be, and it should be covered correctly so you're not getting weather in and so on. Well, there's a building that's on this other piece of property that would be ideal for using for the storage, and would cost, I believe, less money than what making the current building that we have.
Modifying.
Right. Okay, so it was a reasonable thing for us to agree to, and we agreed to put aside $250,000 in our budget. And there was a glitch in the idea that when we understood that the city of Sueur would do a purchase and that we were going to be buying it back, but in there we didn't have an actual motion on the purchase because we didn't have a purchase agreement. And the city of Sueur had made the purchase, but it was going to be deeded to the city of Sueur. And the question that had been opposed was that there was a legal question as to if Merpuck was paying for the property and it was going to be deeded to the city of Sueur, then it would be like Merpuck giving a gift of $250,000 to the city of Sueur with no ownership. And that was the bone of contention. And at the January meeting, we passed a resolution that said that, okay, we can get over this bone of contention by simply paying for the property at the amount that the city of Sueur paid, plus what cost the city had in there, and then whatever the small, and it's a very minimal transfer fee over to Merpuck. We got over that hump. We wound up passing the resolution, and there's been some issues with voting, and there was the question of whether or not counterparts could pull the amount of money and the purchase off of the agenda and not approve active motion. And in the discussion today, it's my understanding that we're legally obligated to pay for the property. There's a legal obligation in there because the motion was passed, and the paperwork has been drawn up. So based on that, I'm perfectly comfortable with something.
I have a
Councilmember Kirby.
real quick question, you can answer this, Johnny, if you would, or Jasper.
Turn your mic on, get your mic on.
It is. How's Merpuck financing this, and then, where will
Merpuck
this-
already has all of the money.
Okay, and then where will this be absorbed in the city then? I mean, what fund will that money go to?
Yes, so when this was approved on June 11th, it was used out of the general fund, and then this money would be returned to the same fund. It was using our fund reserves to pay for it, with the idea that we'd get reimbursed for it.
Yeah, when we passed the budget for 2018, this was actually on the budget for 2018, but it took a while for the process to be able to go through. But included in that was the purchase of the property, the new screen project, and the new Centrate line, all of which has benefited not only just the park, but benefiting the city of Sueur as well, with Henderson and everybody else. The biggest thing for the city of Sueur right now is the Centrate line. Jasper can probably answer this one, and Rich as well, that it's a significant change for the city of Sueur to be able to see exactly what's going into the plant, where it was guesswork before, and because those numbers are much more refined numbers, it actually is costing the city of Sueur less in treatment cost because we can accurately see. So.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, before we proceed further, I have a couple of things.
Councilmember.
First of all, as we approve this, if we do, we have to change the dollar amount, obviously. I noticed right below that, it has a closing date of 1 March. That's Friday. Are we gonna be able to do that?
I don't think so.
I don't have it on the calendar.
Yeah.
Do we change the date, or what do we do? It says on or before, not on or after,
We could probably change it to April 1st.
okay? And the
I
other
think-
question is, who signs, I'm sorry, is that resolved? The other question is, who signs this thing? It's got a blank for the city of Sueur as the seller. Merpuck's chair would also sign. But do we have to authorize the mayor? Do we authorize the city administrator?
It-
Who would we want it to be? It's a pretty big dollar amount.
Yep, it would be the mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. More money spent. Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
Now, we're getting paid for this.
Mhm. So help me with what the motion's gonna be. It's actually to go ahead and reimburse Merpuck.
I would suggest that here's the motion.
Okay?
That we accept the purchase agreement, changing the dollar amount as presented, changing the dollar amount to $199,667.62 on the two places on the first page, changing the date to on or before April 1st, 2019, and authorizing the mayor of the city of Sueur to sign on behalf of the city. That would be the motion.
Boy, that's a mouthful. Thank you so much for that. So we have a motion. Is there a second? Is there any additional discussion? City Clerk, did you get all that for the motion?
Yep, I did,
Okay,
thanks.
great.
I just want to make sure that there's no issue with either one of us voting on this as,
Well, you're doing it with your city council hats.
yeah, absolutely, and that's, well, we voted back in June well, you didn't.
Right.
We voted back in June, for allocating the funds and being able to do the purchase.
That's right.
Through city council, so I should have no issue with,
No, it's a joint powers agreement. There's,
good enough.
Okay. Councilmember Sullivan.
Just a quick question, Jasper, can you make sure that this gets updated? And I think this was attached to our agenda for Merpuck. Can you make sure that updated one gets in there?
yes, we'll do.
Thank you.
Amber pretty sure that we're not gonna have any problem with that date of April 1st, is that right, city attorney?
No, if we have the purchase agreement signed, we can close well before that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion is carried. Before we move on to our comments, reports, and items of appreciation, I noticed that we have Historical Society Director Kathy Burns here. If you'd like to come on up, we have a question for you in regards to your request. City Councilmember Krogman, would you like to go ahead and pose the question to our Historical Director, please?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but
Well,
what the city council would like to do would be to have the Historical Society donate the two statues in question, I'm not sure that's the proper term for them, to the city, and we will assume all responsibility for maintenance,
storage.
restoration, and relocation. That's what we propose.
Is that something that's doable?
We can certainly bring that back to the board members to consider that alternative.
It makes sense on the idea that it is a part of the history that obviously the town is not willing to let go of. It's part of the defining aspect of the type of entrepreneurship that this city was founded on. And I believe that the city would take great care in doing the right thing by these pieces. And I believe that it can be more of a community aspect for the community to get behind in watching the progress and seeing what the progress of something that matters to the town going through that transition. That's what I would see out of this. If that helps with bringing it back to the board, and one of the reasons why we would consider doing it this way.
All right.
So like, I'm taking it, you'll have to probably go ahead and approach your board on this and be able to get back to us on this.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
We have our next city council meeting, I believe it's the 11th of March, if I'm not mistaken.
18th.
Or the 18th of March, okay.
So we'll have a response back in time for that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your attendance tonight, too.
Thank you.
We want to make sure that we're not offending anybody with asking with this. It's just that I think that it's I think that it would be a fun thing for the community to be behind.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to bring the idea forward, and the fact that your council provides these funds for people to bring forward ideas and proposals. It's greatly appreciated. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, I appreciate it. Okay, let's go on to our comments, reports, and items of appreciation. We'll start off with Councilmember Kirby.
Gosh, you started off with me pretty quick there. I didn't get to myself. Not much to report. EDA meeting I was at with Councilman Sullivan earlier tonight. Tomorrow, hospital board. That'll be my first hospital board meeting. Work took me away from last month, so I'm looking forward to that. And also, John Skubitz, like to welcome you to the advisement side of the council. So thank you very much. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Kirby. Councilmember Krogman.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Wow. Okay. Councilmember Favalis.
Haven't had any meetings since the last. We have Merpuck meeting on Thursday, as usual. That should be interesting. This agreement should be on the table for that, and we are going to be discussing rates. I don't know how well that's going to go over, but we're going to have that discussion anyway. Yeah, that's what I have for that. I want to put another thank you out there for our streets department. I know that they're trying to do everything they can with the amount of snow that we have, and I would hope that people are understanding of the idea that curb to curb is as close to curb as they can get, but that snow is gonna continue to fall back down once it's pushed. And it's kinda hard to get rid of the stuff when it's not melting. Yeah, I'm just, please, do what you can for cleaning off your sidewalks. It was well beyond 48 hours. I saw on the last snowstorm that the to school routes were not cleared out on sidewalks, and that is a responsibility of the homeowners. And it is no fun if you're having kids walking in cold temperatures, trying to walk on sidewalks and they can't. And I don't want to see them in the road when you can't see over some of these snowbanks. It's not safe. So that's what I got.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sullivan.
Well, as Mr. Councilmember Kirby stated, we had EDA tonight. We did get our big copy of the Ripple map. You might be interested in that.
What was that now?
The Ripple map,
Okay.
right here on my left, from that survey that was sent out on the REV program, right?
Yep. Mike.
We've got Fire Commission on Wednesday, MRPUC on Thursday. Shout out to the street department for their work with plowing this weekend as well. Trying to think I had something else and I got a blank.
You have an MPRT meeting, Minnesota River Valley Transit meeting coming up?
Next month, I
Okay,
think.
so we're all done for February.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I apologize.
Councilmember Krogman.
When you said there's a meeting, we have a special meeting, I just realized time is flipping away. Thursday night of this week, the Planning Commission will meet to begin review of the first 62 pages, which is only about half of the revised city code ordinances for zoning. They did a big job, they're working hard.
Thought of what I was gonna say, and just a quick shout out to the fire department for what they're gonna be doing tomorrow night with cleaning the hydrants. I think that's important in the community.
Okay. About our HR Director, Communications Director, and HR Specialist, Stacy, you have anything for us tonight?
I don't, thanks.
Okay. Welcome aboard, Mr. Skubitz. One of the things that we do is we go around the room each meeting and just try to find out if anybody has anything that they'd like to offer. So I'm going to put you on the spot, sir, and ask you if you have anything that you'd like to go ahead and present to council.
Nothing prepared, but it's good to be back at the council meeting. It's been 22 years I've been here, so I've done a few of these over the years, but not for many years. Thanks to Mr. Coriel filling in over the last 12
We're
years.
very glad to have you. Thank you, John, for your involvement.
Look forward to working with all of you guys over the coming months and years.
Okay, thank you. And I would just like to reiterate what we talked about earlier with the fire hydrants. Please take notice on that. If you have a fire hydrant, I believe they said 287 fire hydrants that we have here within the sewer. Please do what you can to try to help uncover those from the massive amounts of snow we've had this month. Help out our fire department. And please develop that mindset that we have 800 to 1,000 feet of responsibility on each of those fire hydrants. So if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your neighbor. And with that, I'd also like to thank our council president, Mr. Krogman, over here for facilitating the last city council meeting in my absence. I did watch it on live stream, and I thought you guys did a fantastic job under your directional leadership. So thank you.
Glad you're back.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be back too. It's not fun being laid up, that's for sure. And I'd also like to thank any of the well-wishers here in the sewer for the many phone calls and emails and texts that I've received. I'm now on my road to recovery. It's going to be a little bit of a lengthy process, but we'll get there, and I'll try to do the best I can do to continue to represent this city. And with that said, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to our city administrator, Krugman.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I'll give a short little update. I do have a call with the city of Henderson tomorrow regarding MRPUC discussion, so I should have an update as far as where that's going, and I may send an update out to council just because our next council meeting isn't until March 18th. So I may provide some information depending on how that goes. We do have a fire commission meeting on the 27th at 5:30. I believe, Mr. Sullivan, you are our rep. Should have gotten an agenda for that, I believe. So that's our quarterly meeting. We'll go over the budgets for them with the townships. We talked to them about that. We do have a MRPUC meeting on Thursday and a planning commission meeting on Thursday. So pretty busy week as far as meetings go. So if you want to come, be more than happy to have people attend them. I think that's it. Oh yeah, I'm going doing this event at Hilltop Elementary, Lunch Buddies. So I get to go hang out with elementary kids and eat lunch with them. So this is the second year I've done that, and I believe Miss DiMaggio is going to be there as well. So it'll be a good time.
Thank you for everything that everybody does. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody. Great.